and welcome to this episode of The Height of It. I'm your host, Matt McCullough.
I'm your co-host. Don't forget about me, Matt.
I'll never forget about you, Peter.
Happens regularly.
I forgot about you this morning, though. Sorry about that.
Don't let it happen again.
I won't. It's definitely going to happen again. We have a great guest for you today. We have local man and comedian Talal Jomar. Welcome to the podcast, Talal.
A good local name, Talal Jomar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here. Delighted to be on. Thank you very much.
There is something we have to disclose about you. You are not from Armagh, are you?
No, definitely
You're
not.
actually a Tyrone man.
Yeah, but hold on.
Tyrone.
Dungannon? Where were you from in Tyrone?
Well, just outside the Moy.
Which is practically Armagh.
Are we claiming the Moy?
Oh.
I think we're claiming it.
Are we claiming the Moy?
Dungannon is...
Let's not get involved in this early.
Whoa!
No. I am a Tyrone man. So.
Right, yeah, and we had to smuggle you in here then. It's early on a Sunday morning. That was the only time
Yes.
Talal could...
And there was a heavy police presence.
There was a heavy police presence, yeah.
So Talal's definitely in town here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, brilliant. Welcome. Thanks so much for turning up. A lot of people know you. They're going to know who you are, and because you're big in the comedy scene around Northern Ireland. You're right to point out Talal Jomar, not a super local name. So can we first of all just get into you? Where you're from, how you came across a name like that?
I suppose the name doesn't match the thick Tyrone accent that I have. Look, my mother's from a wee village called Bamburb in County Tyrone, and my father's from a much further place away. He's from Damascus, Syria. So,
well, that could be is that an Armagh? Can we claim that as well?
I think it's just
practically
on the Monaghan border, maybe. But no, it's so that's why I have the name and the thick Tyrone accent. That's that mix.
Yeah, okay. So your dad's from Damascus,
yes,
in Syria.
Mm-hmm.
How did him and your mum meet?
So she was a air hostess for can't even remember the name of the airline, but she was based over in the Middle East, and they just met, and the rest is history.
So they met in
the Middle East, yeah,
in Syria,
in Saudi Arabia, actually.
Oh, right.
So yeah, so
what was your dad doing?
he was like a contractor. He had built stuff like a builder, but like
right, construction.
Construction's
huge over there in
massive
in Saudi, yeah.
Yeah.
So forgive me, and we maybe edit this out if it's not right. Is your dad still around? Is he still
No,
alive?
he's not. No, he passed away. It'll be what 20 years ago.
Oh right, sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't know that. But okay, so you lived. Were you born in Syria?
I was born in the Middle East, yeah, and lived there for 5 years, and then moved in June 1995 to good old Bamburb.
Sunny Ben. So it was Bamburb that you lived in?
Well, my grandmother lived in Blackwater Town.
Right.
So we lived there for a while, and then we moved to Bamburb, and then moved to just outside the Moy.
So what age would you have been?
5 when I moved here.
Oh, you were only 5?
Yeah, I was only a wee youngster.
So you don't remember much about
I remember bits and pieces. I remember being really warm and moving here and being really cold. Like it was actually a heat wave here whenever we moved here. But
famous heat wave of
1995, the famous heat wave. But I came off the plane in Dublin Airport freezing.
What was the temperature?
It was like 18 degrees. It's like, I'm not used to this, So
Irish heat wave.
But no, yeah. So, but like whenever we first moved here, you wouldn't have seen, because I was a lot more brown. Say when I moved here, you wouldn't have seen really a lot of kids like us. That like most definitely not like you wouldn't have. So we were almost like wee mini celebrities.
So do you remember feeling that? You
yeah,
remember looking
I
around
remember
and going,
people looking at us going, because like my mum, she would have wore the traditional Muslim gear, the
hijab.
The hijab, yeah. So doesn't more now, to be fair, but she did at the time. So people were like, they didn't run, because like you suppose like the internet and all probably wasn't in full flight like it is now. You can just you can fire in what is a Muslim and how do they do. You can. Where back then you didn't have all that. You just but people used to say, I thought nuns couldn't have kids because she almost would have looked like a nun.
Yes,
nearly.
yeah.
To an extent, and she was like, no, well, I'm not a nun.
So your mum was a Muslim?
Yeah, so
still is, or
she actually converted to Islam before she even met
Oh, before she met.
Yeah,
So it wasn't a
before she met.
marriage.
No, it wasn't a marriage
conversion?
thing. No, she
Okay,
converted
that's very
to
interesting.
Islam before she even met my father, which I've actually never really asked her why, to be fair, but
Okay.
I just she picked up the Quran one time. I think it must have been like a layover or something, and she picked it up, read it, and converted.
Layover.
You know what I mean? She must have been. I'm sure.
Okay.
So,
Did you ever talk about her conversion at did she go to a particular mosque and speak to someone?
I've never, honestly, I've never spoke to her about it.
Right, that's going to be our next guest, Mr. Moore.
My mum would be a very interesting guest, to be fair.
So, did your dad come over to?
He
Ireland?
was over, but he didn't. He couldn't. He never stayed for any long periods of time. Found it hard to get a visa to like stay. But he was, his mind was blown by here. Like, he just couldn't just get settled at all. He couldn't really,
Yeah.
you know. I suppose living in the Middle East, big cities, to moving to Blackwater Town is a bit of a culture shock, to say the least.
I couldn't imagine a more opposite kind of experience.
Yeah, I know. Like even because I'm sure you know what the charm or the cure is. You know what that is. You know you have like an old woman or an old man has like a charm, or like
Seventh son of a seventh son has a,
but,
special powers.
Yes, that can like clear up
Cures
warts or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like he had for one of his first interactions here, he had a limpy, had gout, and like somebody in the shop goes, "Oh, I know someone who has the cure for that." But he genuinely thought that the cure for this disease was held up in some wee house in Blackwater Town. Then he quickly realised that it wasn't. It wasn't the doctor of some wee old
Some
woman
old
with.
man saying, "Rub this rabbit's foot on your toe and then bury it for 7 days."
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was a bit of a shock for him. But no, he couldn't really. Okay, he didn't mind it here, but
I suppose the
massively didn't.
pub and drinking culture would be a bit of a shock.
Well, he, contrary to popular belief, he enjoyed a wee.
He embraced that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
when in Rome. So
I'm throwing all these stereotypes at him, and you're just you're knocking him out of the park.
Yeah, like we aren't a very stereotypical Muslim family, to say the least. Like, you know.
But I think you find that a lot when you go to there's the idea of Muslims in Islam now is Orthodox Sunni,
Yes.
and that's it, strict, no alcohol, no. But it's not really like that from the Levant right away across to India and Indonesia.
Yeah.
There's so many different variations. There's also Islam sits on a lot of local culture and folklore that existed pre-Islamic, and that mingles in a lot of cultures.
Yeah, well, like I'm as I say, like I wouldn't know too much about all that because I obviously spent 99% of my life here, so
Yeah.
I've never really been exposed to the probably strict Muslim laws or strict Islam, you know. So, and I think I'm a good representation for Muslims to an extent, because sometimes in the press they do get a bad rep, you know, especially in the current climate.
Yeah, of
To
course.
say
Yeah.
the least, like, so
So then were you brought up as
a Muslim, yeah.
Muslim? So how was that? And it must have been difficult for your mum and dad or your mum to
Well, this
do
is
that?
It actually wasn't like we like I've been, because people would often think, because sort of, you know, it's actually nearly harder now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people like back then, people would have been almost excited, and you're almost like a novelty,
A novelty. Mhm.
something completely different, and people would have almost embraced it to an extent. So I've actually found it now. Like I never got any grief in school or anything. Like we never faced any of that. Like I played GAA, I've played soccer, rugby, never had any issues or trouble. It's only really now you sort of get the odd comment on like social media, or maybe you're talking to someone and they just, whenever they sort of hear your name, they sort of a wee bit standoffish or whatever. But like, as I say, like, but late 90s, early 90s, like we were.
Mhm.
Now, there was something happened at the start of the millennium that sort of did get a bit of a bad rap for us, but and that was a bit of a rough time for us. But again, it was almost like, well, that was a very serious thing that happened on
You
we
mean
did-
9/11?
yeah, 9/11. Yeah, we did get a bit of grief, you know.
And did you personally find a change at that point?
Yeah, well, like, so somebody had spread graffiti on our house, and basically said like tourists out, right? But
In Tyrone.
in Tyrone, especially the part I lived in, there was a row of about 6 houses. It could have easily applied to any of those houses, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that was only real time. But again, it was probably just somebody just uneducated or whatever. They just all thought we were all terrorists at that time, you know, and couldn't have been further from the truth, you know.
I understand that point of, I remember, because I grew up in Craigavon, and there was a mosque there.
Yep.
It used to be in a place called Legahory, and I think it was burned down, but not because it was a mosque, just because every house in that part of Craigavon was eventually burned down. But yeah, it was there, and it was nobody. We were fascinated. I remember there was a Muslim family in our school, and they'd come into class and give a talk about their religion, and everyone was like, "Wow, that's cool. That is, cool." But it wasn't that big a deal. It was like there were other religions too, and all that. So it wasn't ever a huge. No, it wasn't on anyone's radar.
Yeah, because like we'd have done Ramadan. I don't know if do you know where it's like a very holy month where we would do like a fast from sunrise to sunset. I don't really follow it too strict now, to be fair. But like even then, like you always would have thought, once people found out about it, they were very respectful towards it. Now you would have had someone like my friends would have been going, "I bet you're starving." No wee jokes like that, but that was fine. It was just lads messing around. But like the schools and all, like I went to St Charles Primary School. They were brilliant. Like they'd have respected that. I went to the Integrated College in Dungannon again, probably because it was a mixed school. But I never really felt out of place, or felt like I was different in any kind of way. We always integrated quite well. I think the fact that I developed the accent, you almost fit in. But as I say, like now, when people hear my name, so they almost relax whenever I start to speak.
All right.
Almost go, right, well, he's almost like us, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I have found in the past couple of years, especially, I've found a bit of a change. You know, the
last couple of years.
Yeah.
Very, very, very recently. Wow. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
What kind of change?
I have found people have probably, due to maybe with social media, I found like there's certain people I would have called friends now I'm no longer friends with, because people almost forget who I am, where I come from. So you see, they're maybe put their opinions on social media, or they've maybe voiced them to me in person, and going, well, hold on a second, I'm also a Muslim, I'm also, you know, from the Middle East. Yeah. And they go, oh, well, oh yeah, I forgot. So that sort of thing. So see, people now maybe are showing their true colours.
Yeah.
So to speak.
When they talk to you, they feel like they're talking to one of their own.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes.
And they can sort of let these opinions slip.
Yeah.
That are either genuinely held or have just been the result of social media.
Yeah.
Because you can go onto YouTube or Facebook, and the algorithm's going to show you, here's all the bad things about immigration, Islam, the Middle East, all that kind of stuff. And so then people will just say it.
Yeah.
I find that a lot too. And even comments on the other direction as well. You know, people will just say. So would you say you're a Muslim then? Would you consider yourself? Is that a cultural identity, or
no?
I'm
not. I'm not a religious guy at all. I do believe in some sort of higher power, if you want to call it that. But I wouldn't be going, that's the religion for me. I do believe in a God. What God that is, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you have to believe in something. Yeah. You know, but I wouldn't say I'm a practicing Muslim. I do. There's some of the things that I would still like. I would still try and do Ramadan in the winter, not the summer, because the days,
summer's a nightmare.
The days are shorter in the winter. So you know,
I've done it before. My wife is a Muslim.
Yeah.
From Pakistan. She's not a strict Muslim. She doesn't wear a hijab or anything like that. But there is something about anyone that's brought up culturally Islamic. There's something about. My wife always says this. I can hide behind her.
Yeah.
She always says that there's something about anyone who's a Muslim, even if they're not practicing at all. Ramadan always has that thing about it.
Yeah.
And Eid. We do Eid in our house. We do Christmas and Halloween as well, but we do Eid as well, and pork. She always says that doesn't matter if you're if you're a completely de-Islamified Muslim, she still won't.
Yeah, I don't eat pork either.
Yeah, no,
it's one of those things.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Apparently, even if you don't follow the religion anymore, pork isn't. No.
Yeah, well, like my two children would eat ham and whatever, but I wouldn't be. I've never indulged.
Well, I sort of said to my wife, our two kids, they're not Muslims, they're not Christians. They kind of just bounce around the cultural and religious landscape.
Yeah.
But they won't eat pork.
That's good.
My older girl look not hope. She doesn't like
Yeah.
meat anyway, and the
Okay.
younger one will eat anything. But for some reason, she
Won't eat.
had a bite of a pork sausage once. and was like, no, I
Yeah.
won't touch it either. So and we never taught them not to
Yeah.
like it. But yeah, they
But
won't have it.
I think that's just the two things that would. But I also don't like the look of pork. I don't like the look of that sort of thing. So I don't eat it. But like I do enjoy the odd beer. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna. So, but again, when in Rome. So.
Well, you are putting your Tyrone as well. Well, let's not forget that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. So, but yeah, like I don't, and then Ramadan, I wouldn't do it a lot. I do it maybe, as I say, probably more so in winter, winter months. But like my mum would do it every year, like so.
Does she do it
Yeah.
every year?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's fantastic. So.
It's the hardest thing I ever tried to do, and I think I tried it twice in my life and didn't get through it both times.
Yeah, it is.
Just
So
like
how does it work? It's sunrise to sunset.
Sunrise, so you can't
to-
eat or drink from sunrise to sunset.
Right.
It is a lot easier if you're, like, because we would have done it when we were back in Saudi or Syria, so it was a lot easier when everybody's, because like places don't open till later in the day, and it's a lot easier. But over here, it's tough, like, because
brutal.
you know
I mean,
what I mean.
so you can't drink water either.
No, you can't drink,
Sunrise
so it
and
is.
stuff.
So sunset, then do you go on a mad binge or
You would think that, but like the first couple of days you might, but after a while your body almost gets used to that sort of thing, so you almost start to crave like healthy sort of healthy food. I know looking at me now you wouldn't go, Jesus, he hasn't had too many healthy feeds, but you know it is one of those things that your body, like, that's why a lot of celebrities and stuff would almost do it as well, because it's a good way to like lose weight.
cleanse the body? And,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be disciplined. I think that's what I was missing.
Yeah.
Because we were brought up with Lent in the Catholic tradition.
Yes.
And that softened so much to you be like, I've given up crunchies for
Yeah.
40 days. And you don't even get to the end. You have a secret crunchy, you know, like, even that was tough.
Do you not
but
get a break on like St. Patrick's Day,
St.
where you can
Patrick's
just
Day.
St. Patrick's Day you sort of get the break, don't you?
You get a break as well. You get a day off, which isn't in the Bible. I don't think it's in the Bible. It's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
On Paddy's Day. And
So,
you used to get the men when we were kids who were off the drink for Lent as well, but they were allowed it on Paddy's Day, so they'd be in the pub all day, and then the next
Yeah.
day back to that.
So Talal, you mentioned going back to Damascus or whatever. How did that?
Oh,
Or how often
no,
would you have gone back?
I just, from when we moved home, I've never been back. Well, I probably couldn't go back to where I was in Syria because it's rubble now. And I've never been back in the Middle East since. So
Ever?
ever. I would like to maybe someday go back, but I'd love to wait till my two children are a bit older and
Yeah.
going, this is where your daddy was born and this is where he lived. So, but I'll wait till they're a bit older. You know.
And that other whole half of their background. I've always wanted to ask you this because we've met quite a few times before, and I had a little comedy club that we'd set up, and Armand, you were really instrumental in doing that. So it was always comedy chat, which we'll get into in a bit. But I always wanted to know if you had views on Syria, if you followed the civil war there, if you had any interest in all that, and on what background your family tradition is in Syria, because a lot of people wouldn't know that there are multiple different ethnicities and sects there.
Well, to make it as easy as possible, we were the normal. We were traditional, but normal to an extent. Obviously, what's happened over there with the civil war was just very sad. Like, I have an auntie still over there. Her communication with the outside world is very limited. It's like she maybe can only access social media like once a month or something. Like, people don't realise how strict it is over there. Even with the changing regime at the minute, it's not for the good. People, maybe people from here would think it's a good thing, but it's not. So yeah,
It depends who you are, I think, in Syria, because if you're part of the group that has effectively won the civil war, then maybe it's okay. It's not good for the Alawite minority who held power there. Bashar al-Assad was part of that minority who held the power, and then you've got all the other even the Druze. The Druze are getting a bit of a rough
Yes.
Bit of a rough time now over there too. So.
But yeah, it is. It is like I'm sure that's one of the reasons why we moved here. You know, it is a better quality of life, especially from two sisters. If you know what I mean. Like they had, you know, back then whenever we moved, like it was quite difficult for women over there. I'd imagine to, you know, your life's almost shaped for you as a woman. Where here you have a lot more choice.
And when that
freedom.
was a sad Syria that you were.
Well, I spent the majority of my life over there in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, okay.
So it has got a lot more relaxed now, to be fair.
Yeah, they've chilled a wee bit.
Yeah, they've chilled a bit. Like women can drive there now, and which is an insane thing to even come out with. Because like my mum,
I thought you were going to say it's an insane thing to allow them to do.
well, that's what it really meant. But no, but like my mum didn't learn to drive. She came back home. She just physically couldn't. Like I for my mum to raise 5 kids, you know, as a foreigner in a different land is an insane thing to do. Like I have 2 of my own. I'm struggling to do it here, where you have the freedom, where like my partner, she has the freedom to take them to the park or take them to the shoppers. My mum wouldn't have had that. Like you just weren't allowed to really be, as a woman, you weren't allowed to really be on the street.
Unless accompanied.
Yes.
Which apparently there's a comedy festival in Saudi now. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
So comedians are getting stick for it, for appearing at it.
Yeah, so it is. They are trying to change their. They are trying to change their almost their
image.
Yes, their image. Yes. So the likes of Dubai was probably the first sort of country from that part of the world that's went, well, let's try and westernise to a certain extent, but it's all to do with. And then the royal family in Syria, we go, well, look at how much money Dubai are making. Let's see, that's why all the golf's there, all the boxing's there. They're trying to sign all the best Premiership players. It's all to do with money and who can spend the most. And so now that's why they're trying to make Saudi now almost like a tourist destination, because for a while there you couldn't have went unless you're going for work, or else you had a place of residence there. Like you just couldn't go for a holiday. But I think they're trying to open it up a wee bit more now.
I see Jim Owen is on the lineup.
Yes, Jim Owen's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
he's,
did either of your parents ever done the Hajj? Did your mum ever get to Saudi for the?
She did. Like I've been to Mecca.
Have you?
Yeah.
How did you find that?
I don't remember.
I remember.
I was very, very small. Yeah.
Wow, that was basically what you could go there as a pilgrim.
Yeah.
Tourism there would be amazing to see what Saudi offers for tourism.
Well, you so you can't get to Mecca unless you're a Muslim.
Yeah.
Because the road actually splits. It's like Muslims, non-Muslims. So you just can't get there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So that means you fulfilled your obligation to go to Mecca already.
Yes.
Even though you don't remember it.
Don't remember it yet. So I've.
So you've done it. You've ticked it off.
VIP pass to heaven now, so I can do what I want now.
You're in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's a good. The comedy thing in Saudi is a good way to get into you.
Yeah.
And you're doing comedy. I think I remember talking to you in the past where you just burst into comedy. So when you were a bit older, it wasn't like you did it when you all your life or anything.
It's something I always wanted to do. I just always loved the thought of actually getting up on stage and trying to make someone laugh. Were
you a bit of a joker amongst your friends or anything?
Yeah, well, I say I was. I just always enjoyed I always enjoyed the feeling I got when I made someone laugh. But again, sort of growing up in rural Tyrone, if you want to call it, you just don't know how to get involved, and you just think, well, I'm never going to be able to do that. It almost goes back to that, like, you either play a sport, become a plumber or a spark, don't do anything outside of the norm. And then, like, I always wanted to try it, and I'd went to a lot of, like, stand-up shows and everything, but you just don't know who to speak to or how to get involved. And then PB's Bar in the Moy running a comedy night, and I had a few pints in me one night, and I said to Fergal, the guy that owns it, and he goes, Fergal, I'd love to do 5 minutes. And he goes, right, well, I'll speak to the guy who's putting on the show for me. And then Fergal goes, yeah, that's grand. And I remember just going, yeah, I'll try it out. And it went really well. And I went, well, I'll keep doing this. And then just I got talking to a few of the comedians there, and then they told me to ring this person, text this person, and then just from there it just sort of took off.
Were people surprised at that you said, I've got a stand-up gig next week? Or?
They were to an extent, but I think because I'd done I'd done amateur theatre and stuff like that before. You know, people were like, well, he's probably used to being up on stage, and people in the Moy didn't really know what comedy was. They just thought of comedians like Billy Connolly or Kevin Bridges, and they're just like, well, that's, you know, it took a wee while for PB's Comedy Club to turn into like an actual comedy club, because if you're not used to stand-up gigs, you don't really know how to act or how to, you just sort of base it off what you've seen online. But yeah, it went really well for me, and just sort of took off from there. So it was, yeah.
I've done stand-up a handful of times, and it's easily the most frightening experience of my life.
Yeah, it is.
Take us through how you felt before doing your first gig. What is that feeling like?
Like, I remember getting over to the venue very early, and I was like, I'm going to have 4 or 5 pints here to sort of settle the nerves. I had 5 sips of my pint, just physically couldn't. I was just so nervous. And I remember just people were coming up to me and wishing me luck, and I can't even remember who they were. I was that nervous, and because like, as I said, I'd done plays and stuff, but that's fine because I've learnt my lines and I sort of know how it's going to go. I know how the play is going to go. Whereas this one, I was like, I have no idea how this is going to go. And I was quite lucky that I sort of knew the majority of the crowd, and they were very supportive and things like that. So, but no, I was very, very nervous, and then I'd have a bit of a stutter and a stammer as well. So I was very conscious of that, and because sometimes that happens being on stage, and people almost think I'm really nervous, which I am, but it's just a thing that I have. It used to be a lot worse than it is now. But I just remember being like, this is the most scared I've ever been in my whole life.
This is what I don't get. So you put yourself voluntarily into this experience.
Yes.
I mean, you said that you really rushed into it when you heard about the opportunity. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard similar stories from
Yeah.
comedians who, I think we were chatting off air about shyness. Matt, you were saying a lot of comedians are introverted and whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a disconnect there. So why would you put yourself through that?
Again, it's just something I've always wanted to do, and I think if I had been younger, I think if I had been like 21 or 20, whenever this, I probably wouldn't have. I think as you get older, you sort of care a bit less about what other people think. To an extent, maybe out here I could be wrong. That's just how I sort of
right.
view
And
that. That's
you
how
care
I.
more about fulfilling your dreams.
Yeah, and I kind of went, well, this is be really cool. I'd almost be regretting not ever doing it. And not that I thought it was going to be any good, but I was like, I'll just give it a, because my thought process was, I'm not a comedian now. So if I do the gig and it goes badly, nothing's changed other than the fact that I tried it, didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's really
I
it.
get that.
But with your question, there's an element of, I don't know why you put yourself through the stress of promising to do a gig, prepping your material, and standing there waiting while 3 or 4 other really good comedians go on before you.
Yeah.
It's awful. The payoff is amazing.
Yeah.
If it goes well, it's the best. But why keep pursuing it? It's very hard to say. Why?
There's that
it's a
payoff.
compulsion.
What is the payoff? What do you get? Is it adrenaline?
The adrenaline when you have a good gig is if you could put it in a bottle and sell it, you'd be a billionaire overnight. Such a great feeling. Again, it's just probably, I've always been a creative sort of guy. I've always enjoyed trying to make people laugh. So it's kind of going, well, like, that's why I try to do it. I think the world's nuts. Like, I think the world is on fire. So anybody who can make somebody laugh for a split second, I think, why not? Why not try and get someone to take their mind off what's happening all over the world? So that's partly a reason to do it.
And it's something you've created, and it works.
Yeah.
It must be a great feeling.
And I do genuinely have such a unique story. As in, like, there's not too many, maybe in like cities and stuff, but like round about here, there's not too many who have the background that I have. As in, like, their mother's from here, but their father's from Syria, and it's sort of, because a lot of my material is like how it was for me growing up. So like my mum done her best to like shelter us, because when we moved here in '95, the Troubles were essentially over to an extent. There still would have been soldiers on the streets. There would have been, like, I remember, like, and it's only the past few years that I actually understood why my mum was so annoyed. So there was like we lived in Bamburb, there were soldiers right outside our house, and I was 6 or 7, say, as most young boys are there. Oh my God, there's a guy with a big massive gun. I was over chatting to them. They put the camouflage on me, everything. I remember coming in the house, my mum goes, "Where'd you get that?" And I was like, "Oh, I was talking to that guy." My mum went crazy at me, like, and she wouldn't have raised her voice to us all that often. But as when you're young, I couldn't understand why. Then when you sort of watch documentaries and you hear the stories of the Troubles, I understood why you shouldn't be talking to the soldiers, because all the people might think. So she done her best to, like, almost let us form our own opinion of the history here, to an extent. Like, I went to an integrated school, and I think that helped massively, because I would have grew up in predominantly Catholic areas that have played for GA clubs. You know, it would have been very easy for me to be sympathetic towards one side to another, whereas, like, I never had that. I treated everybody with the same respect. Like, I don't, you know, but it was...
So your mum didn't bring you up in a nationalist cultural identity or Republican?
Yeah. So, like, she wouldn't have really let us, you know, because, like, I remember asking for a Celtic jersey because all my friends had one. And she's like, "No, I'm not letting you have one." And I could never understand. It's only when you get older you sort of understand the connotations of that comes with wearing a Celtic jersey.
Was your mum brought up in which side of the house? If I can put it like that, was she?
She was a Catholic, so, like, she was obviously lived here in the 70s. Like, she'd have seen the Troubles firsthand. You know, like, everybody was affected by the Troubles in some sort of way. I assume that's one of the reasons she wanted to move away, was to get away from it all. So she never let us, like, we like, me, my two brothers, two sisters, we never had any sort of real opinion on Catholics or Protestants. Like, I almost felt privileged, you know, to not have that sort of...
Yeah.
She sounds like a remarkable woman, your
my
mum.
mum is undoubtedly one of the greatest human beings in the world. Like, she is. She's an amazing person. But, like, she did her bit, and, like, and even there was something that happened. I don't really like talking about it, but something that happened to her shortly after 9/11, and she easily could have. She could have let us. She got attacked by a certain side of the community because she was wearing a hijab.
Yeah.
She easily could have let us, you know, be almost like, it could have changed the way we thought about a certain side of the community. But she basically like, that's only a very small minority. Like, that's not a representation of the rest. So,
wow,
like,
that's very nuanced.
And like, we were very young at that, so it's very easy to influence somebody when they're young. You know, when you're young and you're angry, and it's very, that's how you sort of, you know. But no, it was. But no, we were. Like, she wouldn't have let us wear, like as I say, I'm a Tyrone GA fan. Like, I'm a Tyrone GA fan, but she would never really let us wear GA gear if we were going to, like, a shopping centre or anything like that. She was always quite weary, and even now to this day, I still wouldn't wear a Tyrone top anywhere unless I'm going to, like, a match or something.
In case it might offend someone.
Because one of the one times I actually did, it happened to me in an area, and this actually I actually put, and as I say, it's only really recently now. This one happened a few years ago. I stopped at a shop in an area, and the guy was basically said, "Jersey's not welcome here." And I was like, right, okay, fair enough.
As if it's a person.
Yeah, I think,
You
right,
can come
fair
in, but he's waiting outside.
his mind melted when he found out who I really was. He's like, "What?"
Yeah, it gets worse.
Yeah, it gets worse. So, but yeah, so
yeah.
I've always been quite. So that's I'm trying to instill those values into my own children. Hopefully.
Do they go to an integrated school?
No, they go to Catholic primary school.
Right.
Yeah.
There was that old. It was always, you know, the older men in the pubs, and my uncles did this to my wife and all that. It was whenever she's been coming here since 2004.
Yeah.
And it was always you're a Muslim, are you? Are you a Catholic Muslim or a Protestant Muslim? But there is a logic to that. Like, your mum is a Catholic Muslim.
Yeah,
because it's your cultural identity from here. And what they really mean is Unionist, Nationalist, Loyalist, Republican,
Yes.
and it gets these different labels for the same sort of
Yeah.
thing. But it kind of makes sense if you, in a way,
Yeah.
you know.
But your mum must have got a lot of stick, or did she? I mean, was it
Not really.
really difficult for her?
Not really. I'm not. If it was, she's never let on. But
I mean,
no,
going outside the tribe, you know, it's brave.
I think it. I think it probably should. She maybe did, but we never seen it, I suppose.
She shielded it.
It wouldn't have affected her in any way. My mum's very, probably the strongest human being I know. Has never
Telling her
really...
we're getting her on.
She's
Oh,
big,
she'll not
bigger.
come on. She's the really, really private person. But no, we, like, as I say, I think it had that we had family from here, and we grew up around the family around here, so people never really, and it is very strange because we were so different, you know, because we were like very tanned and like we didn't go to like mass on a Sunday, and I didn't do communion or confirmation or any of those things. So people, you almost would have expected us to feel left out. We never really felt left out, and I suppose that's a credit to the people of Blackwater, Benburb, and the Moy that we never really felt left out or any. You know, I never really felt any. I think maybe when you're in primary school, and because there was a time I remember being the only kid in the school because everybody else went to the chapel to practice maybe communion or confirmation. I can't remember which one it was, and you almost felt a bit like, oh, this is a bit. But the school done their best to make me feel as if I was the special one.
Right.
And I didn't have to do this horrendous thing. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was like we were very, like, as I said, very lucky. It's only now really I'm getting you do get the grief, like you do get the.
That's so, and yet my primary school was kind of multicultural in a way. It would have been way more so than most schools in Northern Ireland because it was in Craigavon. So there was a lot of Vietnamese in Craigavon who had fled the Vietnam War and arrived in the 70s, and so they all went to our school, and then we had the Muslim family from Leghorn and a few other, but it was never. My daughter was asking me because in her school they have a board and they have photographs of all the kids with different cultural backgrounds on their flags, and she was saying, "Oh, did they do that in your school?" And I said, "No." And it wasn't it was because nobody really cared that much, because they were just the whole inclusion diversity thing wasn't a thing back then because it was naturally part of us. It's only became a problem in the last sort of 10 years.
I 100% agree.
I'd say if your mum was a young woman now and converted to Islam, there'd be a lot more resistance to it from all corners.
I think, like as I said, like my children don't have my surname.
Okay.
And the reason they don't have my surname is I'm 36 years of age now, right? My name now, back then people have asked about my name and it almost would have been like a nice conversation, as in like, oh my god, that's where you're from, whereas now it's like, oh right. People almost like stand off. They don't want them to face not that it was any, I think it's because I grew up with it, but I don't want them having the same, I don't want people to judge them on their surname.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So I don't. That's why I didn't.
It's a shame that you feel that in a way like that. And I know it's a reality. It's a shame it's a reality.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So I just, because they have, for the lack of a better phrase, normal first names. If you know what I mean? Like they have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like my name, like it's just people. As I said, like people do now. Some people who have known me my whole life don't find my name strange, but people who I just meet, some judge you straight away, and I don't want that from my two children. So if things were the same for me growing up as it is for them, I probably would have had my surname, but I just feel as in the last, as you said, 10 years there's been a massive change.
The landscape is it's sharply
massively,
divided.
like,
So you would come across people who don't know you and who think you're a new arrival and with all that prejudices which come with that.
Yeah, so they'd automatically think that I skip the NHS queues and all. I don't. You know what I mean?
And your house has been given to you.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And just think there is, and it's sad. It is, but it's a very small minority. I will say that it's a very small minority of people from both sides of the community. It's not just one side of the community; it's both sides. But yeah, I think it is sad to an extent that there is, and I've lost some good friends over the past year or two, and sad, but that's just the way life is at the minute.
That is such a shame. You kind of see this conflict comes out in your comedy, and I that's part of the reason that I really I saw you first at the Dungannon Comedy Festival years ago.
Yeah,
and I didn't know what to expect at all. Even when you started the chat, I thought, oh my god, because your sense of humour is very Irish. I think the way you talk, and you're a very Irish person.
Yeah.
When you get the conversation, I was telling my wife this morning when I was talking about you that in a lot of ways you navigate the Irish cultural landscape better than I do.
Yeah.
You know, I find it difficult to talk to local type people sometimes, and you seemingly effortlessly cut through it. So your humour really bridges that gap between your mixed cultural identity and the real grassroots soil of County Tyrone. That's what it feels like. It feels like, my dad's from the Masters, but here I'm from, and it works.
Yeah, like I think that's one of the things that would sort of not upset me, but would annoy me is when someone questions my Irishness. Mm-hmm. Really frustrates me.
Sure does.
Because I'm as equally as proud of being half Syrian as I am being half Irish. Like, I'm very proud. I would never hide the fact that I'm not what I am. You know what? I'm very proud of both sides. And when my children are older, I can't wait to share with them sort of that sort of side of life. Because at the minute they're too young to understand. You know, they think that Lisburn's in a different part of the world. It's 30 minutes up the road, like, you know what I mean? So they're too young to understand. But when they're older, I honestly can't wait to have that conversation with them. But no, that's the thing that really annoys me when people question, well, you're not Irish. And I'm like, well,
do they question that?
Some people would. They're like, you're not Irish. And I'm like, I am Irish.
We have this brilliant line about sort of benefiting from the two sides of your background. With you have the Irish personality, and then you have the Syrian, the lovely Syrian skin. It just crossed my mind, what if it was flipped? So what if you had, like, you know?
I know, and I was getting sunburnt.
Different material summer for your routines, anyway.
But it is like people do find my and like I've had some of the biggest comedians here say your story's so good, as in, like, it's so unique, it's something different to the scene. I think that's why a lot of people have taken to me, because it is not your usual Catholics and and Protestant thing. So it is, because, like, I had a different way of, like, looking at life growing up, because, again, I was never exposed to that whole the troubles. I'm very lucky, you know what I mean, to escape all that, and you know. So.
But when you're described as Syrian-born comedian, do you like that? I mean, do you deliberately prefer to be described like that, or would you just prefer to be Talal Jomar?
I prefer just to be Talal Jomar. Like, again, it's not that I don't want. I almost don't like being introduced as Syrian, because it gives people that almost shock factor, because
sets you up.
They see my name and they expect me to have an accent, just not to sound like I'm from the countryside. Do you know what I mean? So, because I remember one of my first gigs in Belfast, I got introduced up on to the stage, and as soon as I spoke, one guy went, "He sounds just like us." You know,
you could hear. You actually heard it.
Yeah, and then when it sort of gets people hooked on me straight away. And now, don't get me wrong, there's some places I've gigged, and they just really don't like who I am. You know, they just don't agree with.
So you've had heckles, even racist.
Oh yeah, I've had racist heckles.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
what
had a
kind
real
of things.
I had a really bad experience in a club. I'm not going to say the name of the club, but because it's a fantastic club. But they're just as soon as I get introduced, started speaking, and probably because of where I've been brought up, I referenced this country as Ireland, not Northern Ireland, right?
Right.
And it was, and I honestly, I'm very much, I don't care about any of that, but it was a slip of the tongue, and they just switched off from me completely, and had, like, different things said down the, you could hear them sort of saying stuff, and
like what? Do you not want us to say, or?
No, it's just here. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, there was phrases like tall head, and there was phrases like, the P. I hate saying the word, the P word.
Right. Yes.
I'm sure you.
Oh yeah.
Like that. It's just a real derogatory terms, and I was doing a half an hour. It was the longest half an hour.
Half an hour.
Life.
Wow.
And they were shouting these things up to you.
Some of them were like sort of saying them under
audibly,
their breath.
Yeah.
That I could hear it, and then one guy at the back was like,
Jesus.
"Oh, when's this Muslim sea?" I don't like saying that word either. When's this Muslim sea gonna go off? And again, it's probably that Irish where you just can't let them away with that sort of thing. And I went, well, if a Muslim goes off right now, we're all going to fucking hell tonight. So, but again,
that's a great response.
Which I thought was a great response. They got nothing, and I was like, they really don't like me.
Man.
Like the biggest cheer I got was when I was going off. Like so,
Jesus.
but again, that's just a very small minority. Like
Of
usually
course.
on the whole,
Of course,
but
yeah.
and it was at the time. The country was a bit of a knife edge because there was maybe the odd rat or something, and but even there, I was asked to do a gig there recently somewhere, and the organizer of the place where I was doing the gig at phoned me and says, "Look, just to let you know, there's graffiti near the pub, but we don't share their views."
Wow.
He goes, "But if you don't feel comfortable coming down here, are you worried about your safety?" And I almost got the tone of his voice. He was almost warning me. He's like, "I wouldn't come down here," but I went down and the gig was great. The gig was great, but I was worried, and you should never be worried, especially in this. You should be worried about getting into your car and driving somewhere.
Was that like this year during
a few months ago?
So you had the riots up in Ballymena, and then other places poured down.
Yeah, so there was like I'm not going to say exactly where it was, but there was like so as I was driving into the place, there was a big massive sign saying, foreigners out, Muslims out, and
that bothers me on a few levels, because I understand that there are problems with illegal immigration.
Me too.
Everyone understands that, and there are housing issues. There's the issue of, because a lot of people love to lump illegal immigrant men who are here for a laugh to refugees and asylum seekers and say, no, I'm going to equate these guys with these guys. And I was, no, you can't do that. Asylum seekers and refugees are genuine people. You can't. Obviously, there's going to be people that are taking advantage. It's just, of course.
Yeah.
But it bothers me that you have to be careful being an Irishman from Tyrone.
Yeah.
And my wife is the same thing. She's like, I haven't lived here for years. She's a British. She moved to London when she was like 11. Do you know what I mean? It's just so it seems the legitimate issues just seem to suck everyone else into this black hole.
And people's anger should be at our government. It shouldn't be at there's a comedian has a great line, and he's like, he was talking about immigration, and he was like, usually when people get told to go home to their own country, it's a racial slur. He goes, whereas here it's probably just good advice. You know what I mean? I was like, that's very, very funny. But like, and again, like, but as I say, like, growing up, faced next to nothing. Now you would.
Yeah. A lot of people would assume then that my wife has 100% pro-immigration views, and she doesn't. Because she's like, I'm illegal. Yeah. Well, she's a citizen. As people, but I mean, like legal immigrants, people forget about those. We had Black Paddy on this podcast, our first guest, and he had the same sort of nuanced type thing. He's saying, well, hang on, I did a lot to get here and be integrated into this place. I don't.
Yeah.
So I've got a bit of a problem with the whole illegal immigration issue.
Yes.
As such, and he can separate it out from legal immigration, refugee, asylum seeker, cool, to this other sort of phenomenon that's driving these things.
But I just think it's I think people use it as it has revealed a lot of people's true colours to an extent, as I said earlier on the start, which is sad.
Well, they assume that you agree with illegal immigration or the far left in their entirety, because of what you look like. But then there are also a lot of wolves in the background that are racist and hate foreigners and hate Muslims and and they saw this as a golden opportunity to start attacking them. Hence why you get phone calls saying, listen, it might be dodgy for a Tyrone comedian to come up here.
Yeah, like even people, and I'll put it down to almost that they're not educated enough. Like whenever there was a terrorist attack, there was ones in like France and places. Some people would say, "Oh, do you agree with those attacks?" And I'm like, "No, like, I don't."
As if you're going to be like, "Yeah,
oh, we didn't get enough of them." You know, it's like, no, I don't. You know, we like people automatically assume that if you're Muslim, you're happy that there's terrorist attacks. And no, I'm not at all. I want the world to be nice and peaceful and everybody to just get along. You know what I mean? So, but that again, I just put it down to like just uneducated or just one way of thought.
Yeah.
It's like Irish people in England as well during the Troubles.
Yeah.
Who of course, got this sort of knee jerk, well, you must be a sympathiser.
Yeah.
This is going to cause a bit of pain in you. At some level, you're going to feel these various issues, and they come out in your comedy. And the first time I saw you, you introduced your set with, "I'm Talal Jomar," and you said, "My mum's from Tyrone and my dad's from Syria, and that makes me a terrorist."
Yeah.
And the whole place just... but that speaks to those kinds of experiences, you know.
But it's almost a ironic thing of going, well, you automatically, most people would just go, because like I've always been, like, my friends have always like slagged me about being a terrorist and stuff. Like, that's just good fun. But I always say, you know, like I had no choice. Like, my mum fled Ireland in the 70s. She could have been in the Ra, you know what I mean? Like, who knows why she went to, like, it's a bit of a jaunt to go to the Middle East, you know?
Yep.
And people automatically assume if you're from the Middle East, you're a terrorist anyway. So that's how that joke sort of came around. And then I went, well, I'm going to start my own terrorist group and call it the Ralaban, you know? So...
And that is the perfect combination of the demons of the most demonized groups. But I think there's something deeper there too, because in a way, both of your cultures are both they're rebel type cultures, and they're also enslaved cultures. So both your world perspectives would make no sense to someone who's half British, half French. Yeah, because they have nothing to worry about. And they never did. When we were growing up, we always felt having an Irish identity was always something to worry about. Yeah. No matter where you travelled, you're this underdog, unstable kind of, you know, Irish guy who smiles, but he's probably got this hidden... Yeah. I agree with all that stuff, you know.
There's a hidden explosive in your baggage. Or?
Yeah. And the same thing goes for a lot of Muslim young people. People assume, like, they condemn it, but... Yeah, you know, if you look at 57% of all Muslims interviewed agreed with Sharia law, you know, all that sort of stuff. And you've got both of those perspectives. You've got two underdog rebel type cultures.
So this is where both my identities have been my downfall. This is a true story. You probably heard me do stand up about this, but I used to travel for work. I used to do a lot of travel for work, and I was in South Africa. It's only about 2 years ago. I was in Johannesburg, and as I was going back to the airport, a road had exploded about 3 miles from the airport. And as I was going through security to get home, I had been in a quarry and a mine that morning, so I'd picked up traces of explosives on my bag and my shoes.
Just to clarify, that's because you used to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I used to. My work involved me going to quarries and mines stuff, so they swabbed me, and they said South Africa's a very corrupt. It's so scary over there, right? Especially the parts I was in. I was staying in a place just outside Pretoria, which at that time was the third most dangerous place in the world. And as I was going through security, they swabbed me, and obviously my bag and my shoes had all traces of explosives, because it was a brand new sort of mine, and they just used explosives to like loosen the rocks and stuff. So over there, the armed forces, well, this is what I was told, I don't know how true it is, but they almost work on, like, they don't have a salary, so they get paid by the job. So the quicker they capture the suspect, the more money they get. So they couldn't believe their luck.
When the guy turned up.
So they just looked, my passport, you know, place of birth, Syria, nationality Irish. They were like, this guy.
This is a home run.
This is a home run. And this is a true story. They put the handcuffs on me, put a black bag over my head. They dragged me into a room, and they like proceeded to like beat me and throw cold water over me and everything, just to try and get me to confess to this. But I was like, no, it wasn't me, you know, it wasn't me. And it was a horrendous ordeal, like they bruised my face, bruised ribs, and only recently got the hearing back in that ear because they hit me that hard, you know.
Oh my God.
And it was just, I was like, if I had just an ordinary Irish passport with, you know, if I had been born in Craigavon, or I'd been, you know, born in England or whatever, I'd have been grand. But just again, there just was like, this is the guy, like, this is.
I mean, I love that story. That story is, I know that's true, because I think the morning you got back, or the day after you got back, you turned up to Armagh, our comedy club, and you looked traumatized, and I said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Because you were headlining that night,
Yeah.
and you were sort of yeah, and you quickly told us the story in the corridor, and you had the cuff marks still on your wrists, and these deep indentations on both your wrists where those cuffs had been, and you looked like you'd been interrogated in South Africa for a few years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was very, very
still
scary.
Did the gig. That's a hell of a tribute
But
to
it was almost like
professionalism.
it was probably shock. I was just like, I was never as glad to come home. I was never as glad to be home. And I got a 10-hour flight then from Joburg to Istanbul, and was very, very traumatizing. But
harrowing.
It was like
you still came down to Armagh the next day to do a gig.
I know,
and you nailed it as well.
Yeah, but it was like that's it was horrendous ordeal. It only it's like anything. I probably didn't.
You must have some PTSD from that.
I did have. Like I remember being in Belfast about a year later, and I heard a guy from South Africa roaring. Not at me, he was roaring across street at like his friend or something, and I almost like froze, because they were speaking in Afrikaans, and like I have my accent, and like they could hardly understand me, and it was just a horrendous thing. Now, eventually, obviously, I got home, but it was very scary. Like it was sort of put me off travelling for work. Like I've actually left that job now and work somewhere else now, but that was one of the reasons why I just,
You turned that into a really funny comedy bit.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
So anybody that I won't talk about it now because it's a genius little piece of comedy with a brilliant ending to it.
But that whole story's true. Like that.
Yeah, I know.
I come off the plane, the boy did ask me.
Anytime I've seen you since and you've done that bit, I've nudged the person beside me like, that's true.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's true. I saw it. Yep,
it's an incredible story.
And like I remember I was doing that bit in a comedy club in Belfast, and I actually asked the crowd, "Is there anybody from South Africa here?" And there was a guy who was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "What part?" And he was actually from that part of the world, and he remembers that happening, so it gave validation to the story. And because I remember when that happened, like it was on the BBC News here, and like my girlfriend was texting, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just going through security here now." Little did I know, a few minutes later I'd be in a wee room getting the shit knocked out of me. But but yeah, so it was a.
Of course, they said sorry and gave you compensation afterwards.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
You probably still think it was you. It was definitely that guy.
Yeah,
come back soon.
Like I had to get the Irish embassy to get me out, and it was just.
Did you?
Yeah, and I actually got brought onto the plane in handcuffs. So the person I was sitting beside on the plane, I was the last one on the plane. The person I was sitting beside on the plane never blinked because I thought I was a criminal.
Why are we in handcuffs?
They let
you go?
Yeah, but they reluctantly let me go because that was their week's wages probably getting onto the plane.
I see. Oh man, you're so lucky you didn't disappear into the prison system.
Yeah, because that's what they were saying. They were like saying, if you admit to this now, we'll fire you into like a private room and you'll be fine. But if we don't, we're just going to fire you into like community jail. And let me tell you, they were like,
God be with you.
You won't see Monday. And I'm like, oh my God, this is.
So you obviously 100% believed that was going to happen at the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was very scared.
I'm scared.
It was very. It was the room wouldn't have been much bigger than this. I would have imagined, but it was almost because you couldn't see anything because you have the black hood over your head, and then the freezing cold water, and then they just hit you or they'd roar in your face, and it was traumatizing. But I made it home.
You had to do the walk of shame down the aeroplane, a full aeroplane. People, you're in handcuffs.
Yeah,
you look the way you do. I'm sure the people were thinking.
And I looked so scared. I looked because I had a big mark there, and just looked.
People looking at you going, "Shit, who's this guy?"
Yeah.
And then you should have like said to someone, "Here, mate, you're in my seat," and your big Tyrone accent.
I know,
confuse them all.
The person beside me never spoke, like just never blinked the whole flight. Like I
felt
not
really
like,
surprised.
And I was going, they probably had to really go to the toilet and just didn't want to ask. I was just like it was, and I never spoke either. Like because I would usually like sleep on the flight because the flight's 10 hours.
Yeah,
I would have slept, but I just never slept. Like I never.
That must have been an awful flight.
Yeah, horrendous.
10 hours.
10 hours.
It'd be so funny if you just started casual conversations with the guy beside you. "Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You gonna eat that?
You wouldn't have me go to the toilet, would you? Hands are tied up here. But no, that's again one of the.
And that comes
drawbacks.
From that clash if you're too.
Yeah, they just went to this guy. He has to involve some way or.
Yeah.
Another.
Yeah.
So,
well, no, I mean, the whole two cultures thing. I mean, is it for you? Do you think? You know, because Matt was saying you have two cultures, but I mean, is there also a feeling or a case, or do you feel sometimes that you feel between, or you fall between the two cultures, that you're neither fish nor fowl? You're.
I think because I've spent so much time here, I do feel very Irish. Again, I'd probably consider myself more Irish than I would Syrian or a Saudi or anything like that. But I think it's because I've spent most of my life here. But again, I would never hide the fact that I'm from that part of the world, but I do consider myself to be very Irish, you know.
Mm-hmm. And with just wanted to go back into the comedy element. You started to you've made your way up to almost the top flight of comedy now in Northern Ireland. How do you see the scene developing? How has it changed in the last few years?
There's so many. The thing about it is, you don't know how many comedians there are until you're in it. If you know what I mean, because you only would really see the ones that you'd see on like podcasts or like TV and stuff. There's so many great comedians out there. Like, I think this country is just full of naturally funny people. I don't know whether that's because we've grew up in trauma or whatever, or hardship or something. I don't know what it is, but there's so many people and they're just genuinely hilarious. Like, they're just. So I think that's why the comedy scene here is so good. And I think because the top dogs, like you're talking the guys who are selling out arenas and stuff, are so nice, so helpful, and they give you a real shot. Like, usually when you're starting out, like anything, comedy's very. You're almost fortunate that I started when I started, because there was this big boom. Like, very quickly, I was on the same bill as like a Colin Geddes or a Shane Todd or Colin Murphy, Tim McGarry. So it's insane, because also the country's so small as well. So naturally you're going to be on the same bill with those guys, like, and then that's another added level of pressure, because you might have had a run of like 10 great gigs, and then the one time you're on with those guys you have a real bad one, and they're judging you, so the added pressure of that. But no, it is such a great scene, and I've had no issues on it at all, you know. The you know, almost the fact that I tick a few diversity boxes helps me.
Yeah,
you know, it's true. Like, there is advantages of you know.
You have a niche.
I have a niche, you know. So you do almost sort of get that, and then people do want to hear.
You're taking things,
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard that before, that the comedy scene, even as it goes right to the top, is a lovely scene.
Very nice.
There was an American comedian here for a while, and she was telling me that the US comedy scene is awful.
Yes.
Like, they will trample over your head to get ahead.
Yeah.
They snark at each other, they undercut each other, they badmouth each other to try and win. And she was shocked that here everyone was really encouraging. You come off the stage and you go, that was pretty good, that was great, you know.
Yeah.
And I found that with all you guys coming to the Armagh Club, that it was a very encouraging culture.
Yeah, it's a fantastic scene to be a part of. You know, there's never any badness or ill will or anything like that, and people are genuinely happy for you when you get to do something really cool. Like, you know, I got to do support for Shane Todd in the Grand Opera House in Belfast, which is an insane thing to be doing. You know, to gig in front of 1,000 people. It's something I might never get to do ever. You know, it was cool to get, and because he done a big, I think he done how many dates he done there, loads, and so he give like different comedians, you know, each different comedian for every night. So a lot of us got to do support for him. You know, that's a really nice thing to do, because to get that experience is invaluable. Very hard to get. Yeah.
Do you find a crowd of 1,000 is easier than a crowd of 20 in a pub?
I'd prefer to play like an intimate gig than a big one. Not that I've played that many big ones, but it's just I would imagine that as you would do it more, you would get used to it. But because the likes of Grand Opera is so big, you almost say your punchline, and there's a bit of a delay in the laugh coming.
Right.
So you almost go, "Oh my God, this is not going well," and then the sound hits you. Whereas if you're doing like a wee small spot, the laugh's instant. You hear it instantly, you know. But again,
and you can read them in a small room. You can say, "Right, I'm going to change tack here because these guys are."
And no matter how big or how small it is, there's always going to be one person, or at least one anyway, who doesn't laugh or enjoy it or whatever. And it's always them you focus on.
Oh, right.
I don't know what it is, and as much as everybody else could be rolling on the floor laughing, but there could be one.
You have to win that person over.
And that's all you can focus on, is that one person. But no, on the whole of it, good experiences being on stage. Like, I haven't had too many bad nights.
Yeah.
I've had a few, don't get me wrong, but
yeah, you have to, don't you? You have to get that
you do. You do get the nights where just, if you're trying new material or something, just go, it's not working, like.
Yeah.
But you just
there's a great expression in the Northern Irish comedy scene for that. Dang on your hole.
Dang on your hole.
I think
yeah.
People always come in and be like, there's a few comedians come in looking traumatized like you did after your flight to South Africa. And I thought, what's the matter? I died on my hole last night.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't, did you? And these guys would be fantastic comedians.
Yeah, it happens.
They get roaring laughter every time, but there'll be that one night.
Yeah, it just happens, and it can be just.
Died in your hole.
Yeah, it can be. I've died in my hole a few times. Like, it's one of those ones where.
It's an awful experience. I died in my hole once, and I never. It put me out.
Really?
I went back. Yeah, I can't handle that. I'm not. I don't have the grit. to continue to do that.
No, that's but it's so weird, because you could do the exact same set word for word, like the word for word, the exact same set, and
and you get that feeling. You step on a stage and you get that feeling. Something different here. I'm going to die in my hole. And no matter, even if you do the exact same set as the night before, where you got all the laughs.
Yeah, you
know at the start you're just like, this isn't landing. Shit.
And there is almost an element of when, like, you hear one of the bigger comedians, like, someone that I'd be a fan of, whenever they have a rough time, you're going, it happens to them too. That's good.
It's kind of reassuring.
yeah.
It's good name for a podcast, Dying on Your Hole.
Dying on Your
Hole.
Yeah.
How are none of those comedy, and there's a lot of comedy podcasts out there, how have they not had that name? Well, someone will snap that up. You were saying that we're all funny people locally and stuff like that, and that's one distinction I always find between comedians. The guy who's funny in the pub isn't a good stand-up.
Correct. And
the guy who is the introverted, shy type guy is the well, that was a revelation to me, meeting all you guys as comedians. And I think almost all of the comedians I've met are intelligent, deeply thoughtful, kind of shy, introverted types. And they get up and they put on
all
this act. I'd say pretty much all of them. I can't think of them a real outgoing pub type. Can there be? There might be
you have to
the majority
perform.
for sure.
It's amazing.
There's a comedian called Mickey Bartlett. I don't know if he's ever heard of him. Mickey Bartlett's fantastic. He's exactly off stage as he is on.
Right.
He is just. He's. Knowing somebody's born to do something, and you can't imagine them doing anything else. That's him. He's one of my favourite comedians and a really good guy, but he's the only one that is so almost like he is just always on. And he's just naturally the funniest guy.
Yeah. So what's your persona then when you get on stage? How do you change?
I'd be quite similar on stage. Like, I'm quite I would do more stories than like jokes, if that makes sense. But it is almost like I would be quite. People have said that I come across like quite shy on stage, and I would agree with that. I'm quite a shy individual to an extent.
Yeah.
But my persona is just probably the same. I try and be the same on stage as I am off.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I've seen you a couple of times, and it seems to be, what you see is what you get.
Yeah. But a lot of comedians aren't funny in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I know people that are hilarious all the time, but they could never do stand-up. And if we're sitting talking to you as we were, you're not cracking joke,
no.
and it's the same with those other guys. It's they almost get into this. Right, I've got all my lines. I always thought the key to stand-up is to learn your lines and then recite them as if you're making them up.
Yeah.
And hide the fact that you're nervous as hell doing it.
You have to come across, especially when you're like telling stories. You have to come across like you're telling the story, not telling the joke. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
So usually when I'm telling the story, that's how I would tell it to you, or just as we're talking here now, that's how I would tell. So, but I think again that's probably the Irish side of me. Nearly everybody's a good storyteller, and comes out. I've had family members from here that are very, like, extremely funny people. He'd be like a cousin of my mum's, a man called Gregory Lavry. Have you ever tell a man called? He's undoubtedly the funniest human being I've ever met.
Right.
But he's such a great storyteller but I don't think he would, like, he's old now, but even to this day, like, he's just the best storyteller I've ever come across. So from probably growing up around him influenced me a lot in like delivery, because he would almost, when he's talking to you, like one on one, it's almost like he is delivering a stand-up set, because he's just, his timing and everything, he's just so like he'd have been a massive influence on me growing up.
I was going to ask you who your influence is, but
and like he's never done stand-up. He'd have done a lot of like plays and stuff, fantastic actor, but he would have been one that I have like remembered. I just remember as a young kid watching him making people laugh. Well, I'd love to have that craft. I'd love to have that. But when I say he wasn't on stage, I mean this was like at a wake or a wedding. It was at those nights. Like that's an awesome skill to have that ability to like, to make people laugh and have their attention captured.
Because he'd do that by telling stories or telling jokes.
Stories. But he's just naturally funny, if that makes sense. And he's just one of those people that every story he has is a complete handling, if you know what I mean, and how he tells it. And it's just, he's hilarious. You should get him on. His stories are amazing. Like,
I would love to.
Complete what?
Handling.
Handling.
Oh, handling.
Handling,
Right.
Like
some translation issues here. Across county lines.
But he has an excellent story of seeing a UFO.
Right.
Because I was like, aliens don't exist. They're not real. He told me the story. I'm a full believer.
Are you?
Yeah.
So this is your mum's cousin?
Yes.
Okay. And he saw what, a UFO?
A UFO in Tullysarn.
In Tullysarn.
Yep. Okay. Which made it more, because if you're going to tell someone you've seen a UFO, you'd pick a better place than Tullysarn.
Fair enough. Yeah, right enough. Yeah.
And he's adamant when he tells this story, and it made me believe.
Was he leaving the pub? Any chance,
nope. No.
Okay. No, just thought I'd ask.
I know. I asked him those same questions, and no, he was just on his way home one night, and his story, how he tells it, I don't want to ruin it.
Right.
But he tells it. He tells it.
Maybe we'll get this guy on and
get
into UFOs. So, I mean, you were a skeptic as well about UFOs and the paranormal, ghosts and demonic possession. I know that sounds quite specific, but we're getting to something.
Yes. So, I am one of the very few people that you'll ever meet that had an exorcism performed on them.
An exorcism
performed on them.
Right. We're starting to see a little pattern here of you and ridiculous situations that you seem to get landed in.
I'm just one of those guys that these things happen to. It's actually not that long ago. I want to say 15 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
But
how did you end up on the business end of an exorcism?
It's a fantastic line there. Look, I was never really a big believer. Well, I think I'll tell the story, then I'll put the history behind it. So, I woke up one morning and there was something lying in bed beside me that looked like, the only way I can describe it was the Joker from The Dark Knight, right? Has no remarks on it. Just thought, heavy weekend, just in the horrors, whatever. So then
were you by yourself?
Yes.
Right.
So I had woke up with some strange woman beside me around like that. And
right in Tullysarn.
So, but as the days and weeks went past, more and more things would like happen. So I would like keep capturing a glimpse of this figure in like a rear view mirror of the car, and I'd be sitting in work and feel someone tap me on the shoulder or something like that, and then I got to the stage where I was having like real proper night terrors, and it was always in the same corner of the room. Like I'd wake up in bed roaring, screaming, and my girlfriend would be like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, there's something not right here.
What do you mean the corner of the room? You'd see a figure?
Yeah, like a figure in the corner. Like it's always the same corner. And I used to say, there's somebody in that corner. And my girlfriend's like, there's nothing in that corner. There's nobody there.
That's terrible.
And do you remember seeing a figure
there?
Or was
yeah.
this in your dreams?
No, remember it.
And it looked like the Joker from The Dark Knight?
The more and more it went on, it was just like almost like a outline of like you couldn't see his face, just like a shadow, nearly. Okay. And then as days and weeks went past, it just kept getting worse and worse. Like I remember driving through where like the Orgry is, and all my car doors just flew wide open. Right now, one door you could go, okay, that's maybe just the car was old, but all four just flew wide open. Right, never stopped, just kept driving, terrified, trying to get all the doors closed. Right, and now I know when I'm telling this story, people say, "Oh, he's full of shit," but this happened, and if you can believe me or not, I don't care. So now, and then one night, I remember waking up choking, and I had like a handprint round my neck, but it didn't. It was too big for my hand. If you know what I mean.
Like an actual handprint on your skin,
yeah,
as if someone had been gripping your neck
yeah.
in red.
Yes, and like my girlfriend, her hands aren't that big either. You know what I mean? It wasn't like she was trying to murder me in the middle of the night. We had a dog at the time, and the dog, like you know, a dog was class, but he just, as the weeks went past, he would like get distance himself from me nearly. And then there was one night the dog was in our room, and he came out yelping. Right, which were very strange for a dog to like do that. But anyway, dogs kind of have this like sense of like death and all this sort of thing. And then, so that sort of got my woman's interest piqued a bit, because she was like, well, if the dog's suffering here,
if the dog's upset,
you know what I mean, you're fine, you can go to the underworld if you want, but the dog, he's staying. So
did you say once he was barking as well and growling?
So then there was one night she was walking up past, and the dog was in our bed, and he just was barking and snarling at the corner of the same corner, I'd say, this room. But it got to where I wasn't like sleeping at all. My mind was I was just going insane. And so I went and spoke to a relative of mine who's quite holy, and she was like, right, well, I'll go and see, can I get something done for you here? So got took to a place and met a priest. And like, as I say, I'm not a Christian, but I'd take anything. I'd took any sort of help at all. But like, a lot of weird stuff happened. Like, as I said, I've been in the house and things would have fallen off the fireplace, and pictures would have dropped, and just the usual stuff
but
you'd
this
see.
only
like,
started at a particular time.
Don't know what it was. Now, I believe it was me and my partner. I tend to stay away from, because I didn't believe in aliens, but I always believed in the paranormal. I'll explain why. But me and my partner went to see a fortune teller, and I'm dead against that. It's not because I think it's nonsense, because I think it's true. Mm-hmm. So I believe anybody who tries to contact the dead, you shouldn't let them be there, or even try and see your future. I think that sort of opens up a portal to the other side. I know you probably think I'm mental here, but
no, I'm with you.
So I was dead against going to it, but I went anyway, because we all just do what we're told. And it was about a couple of weeks after that, so I believe something from that started all that turn of events. And but as I say, like, things would have happened, and I'd have, like, the amount of times I nearly crashed the car, because you're driving and you'd see, look in the rearview mirror, and you'd see the figure in the back seat.
Oh, it's like you're stuck in like several multi-horror films
at
once.
Yes,
like
exactly.
And getting like, Exorcist, obviously.
Yeah. So, and then one night, sort of as well, my girlfriend said I got up and walked about the house. Says, like, you were just not yourself, if you know what I mean. Because, like, you weren't violent, but you'd have been like, looked really menacing, if you know what I mean.
Did you think about going to a doctor? Or?
Well, my sister's a psychologist,
right? So
she was like, "Nah, you're just losing your mind. You need to look after your mental health." And I'm like, "I'm gonna have something. I went for loads of walks. Hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean?"
And there's always some way behind
walking off.
You know what I mean? So I eventually went to a place, and there was a priest who had performed exorcisms, like, because exorcism used to be a big thing here. There have been
every Saturday.
Yeah, you wouldn't have missed it. And but it wasn't like you'd see in a TV show. Like, there was nothing swirling about, and I didn't like projectile vomit or anything. Though I did, but whenever I met the priest who performed the exorcism, he was like, "Oh, there's something in you. Like, there is something. No, there's an evil."
Ooh.
Sort of around you, and then going, well, fuck this, it's not good. And then he performed this big, there was him and some other guy performed this like ritual, for the lack of a better phrase, and I just remember feeling like somebody just lifted an anvil off my chest. Now, whether I was all psychological,
in the moment you felt that?
As soon as it was over, but it's not like I floated up into the air or anything like that, you know. It's not like things floated around, none of that. It wasn't like, you know, the lights didn't flicker on and off. It was just in this wee room, and that was it. So now I stay away from all that. I very rarely would watch a scary film or anything. I don't like anything with like demonic possession or anything.
Wow.
Like that,
So this is all very real.
Yeah, and as I say, like, it happened to me, and people can believe it or not. I'm perfectly aware of the fact that people might go, "Oh, that never happened," but
It'd be an odd thing to make up, though.
it'd be an odd thing to make up, yeah. But it was so real, and it went on for weeks, months. Like it went on. It got to the stage where like I was hardly even sleeping, and then my sister was like, "Oh well, when you're not sleeping, your mind." She was like, "You're just losing your mind." And I was like, "How do you explain the thing around my neck?" And
how did anyone explain that?
That was physical. So the marks were there. Do you photographs
No.
and
which I should have. So that bit of the story, you know, I was just that, my head was just that cooked. Like I just.
No, because you know, if you took a photo and then you looked at the photo, your boy would be in the background of the photo, you know, something like that.
It was a horrible time in my life. You know, it was a horrible time in my life.
Yeah.
But thankfully now, so like, I'm very, as I say, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I'll take any protection going.
Sure.
So like, even my children, like I would, like I have prayers from knocking everywhere. I'll take anything from anywhere, and I'll give them the extra sort of safety. Like even whenever my first child, I'd have been feeding her in the middle of the night, and I used to still freak out. No babies would just stare in a corner of a room, and they would like giggle and laugh, and I'm like, what are they giggling and laughing at? Or maybe on like the baby monitor and stuff. So I'd be
super hypersensitive.
I'm very super hypersensitive to all that, because it just, you know.
That's an incredible.
It was a madness. Like it was.
There was two bits that I'd heard from you in other podcasts, and one of them was you ran over a woman in your car, but it wasn't you saw an apparition. There was some sort of figure.
Oh, that was
was that part of this episode?
No. This was.
Is it different?
After, so it was a friend of mine. Actually, my friend of mine, Paul Roach's house, and it was sort of like foggy, and I was driving us a wee small country road. And till I dropped dead, I seen this woman standing in the middle of the road, and I hit the brakes, but she came through. It looked like she came through the car.
Right. And
I remember going, "Fuck!" So I stopped and got out and was like, "There's nobody there." And I remember had to get diesel. I drove to the shop, and as I went to get out of the car, something just pulled me back.
Oh God!
And I was like, I remember walking into the shop, and the shopkeeper actually goes, "Are you okay? You look like you've just seen a ghost." And I went, "I think it just did," and walked out. So that woman's probably going, "This guy is weird."
Do you know that Syrian fella?
You know what I mean?
He's off on one again.
So yeah, but like that's one of the things
One I found really interesting was about something you said, I think, about your grandmother found you playing with a deck of cards.
Yeah, so that's how that's how I wouldn't say if like I wouldn't say I'm like obsessed by it, but I remember like I was very, very young. I was playing with like a deck of cards, and she went mental because I was playing with the Joker cards.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I was my granny's favourite, like no doubt about that. You know what I mean? I was my favourite. She went mental at me, and she actually she lit a fire and threw the Jokers into the fire, and then she dosed me in holy water. Like I mean, it was the fact that she nearly, like I was getting waterboarded by holy water. And so ever from then, and I just remember her telling me stories of like different things, and like because there was a house where we lived in Bamburgh, just like a wee off road, and like my granny used to say, never go near that house, like don't ever cycle near the house, don't ever. Of course, when you're young, you do these things. And I remember just there was a wee outhouse just before it, and I remember cycling because this was actually with a different dog, and I was cycling, the dog was along with me. The dog ran into the house. Because it was a wee like derelict house, there was nobody in it. Dog came sprinting out, and there was randomly a goat just standing there, and then the goat's obviously a sign of the devil or whatever. And I remember then I had a cycle past the house. She told me never to go by, and I came home and told my granny, and she was like, again, another dose in holy water again. Cause
told you not to.
Yeah. So like and she always had these stories of like people playing card games in houses, and you know somebody dropped a card and looked around, and there was some stranger there, and his feet were like his feet were smoking and stuff, and just so I've always grew up with like
those very superstitious
stories. So that's maybe that's played an element in the whole thing that happened.
I find it really interesting, and just indulge me in this for a minute, but I try to shoehorn Carl Jung into any conversation I have or podcast I have. But I love that he has a whole theory on the paranormal,
yes,
and his archetypes and all that. And one of the archetypes that's really famous is the trickster or the Joker. And in medieval times, the Joker was the person. I wrote this in the Prohibition comedy thing, that the jester's role is always to keep the king in check. So no one's allowed to criticise or talk shit about the king.
Yeah.
But the jester is,
Yeah.
the Joker is, and he gets the pretend crown and a pretend sceptre, and he's the fool.
Yes.
And that's what comedians are. Comedians make that, do that role here. So you have the government, you have the powers that be, and even in the laws of slander and things like that, if you're joking, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen If I Got News for You? After Princess Diana died, your man Merton, every episode, as soon as it opened up, he used to say, and Prince Philip killed Diana.
Yeah.
And they could never do anything because of the joke.
Yes.
And you're protected. So we still have that gesture thing.
Yeah.
And this weird archetype of the Joker seems to have appeared in a few instances for you. It's strange that you had them.
Yeah.
And the Joker in the deck can be any card.
Yes.
It's not a specific. It can be. You remember you played Gin Rummy, the King, the Queen, the Jack, but the Joker can be any one of those. It's a shape shifting type entity, and then you were drawn to being a comedian after this Joker like demon. That was the thing that appeared, and then the Joker cards, and that's all a very interesting coincidence or synchronicity.
I've never thought of it like that, but now I won't sleep at night thinking about it. But it is like those things, and but as I say, like as I said earlier, like I just grew up around storytellers, and like, but my granny should have put the fear of God in you, like all those horror, like those paranormal stories,
banshees and all that. Yeah. We lived in the terror and the shadow of the banshee growing up.
And then there was like a story of like Blackwater Town where there was a wee old woman used to walk. Now and then if she spoke to you died within like 24 hours or something. And like,
what the kind of story is that to tell to a kid?
Still to this day, but that's how it was back then. You know what I mean? But still to this day, if I see an old woman walking on the road, I am as fast as I can. Like this, I'm driving past my ears cord. Don't speak to me. Yeah, but it's just.
Like that Talal Jomar is awful rude. Every time I
see an old woman with a Joker face.
I don't know.
We know what to do to you at Halloween. Now turn up to your house with a.
I know.
But this is going to be a Halloween podcast. Alright, we'll put this out.
Yeah. Even in the Islamic cultures, they have the jinns in the Quran as the old map very well onto the archetypes and the, what would you call them, the archetypal sort of, not possession, but that's how it is in religious texts, as being possessed. But Jung would look at things like socialism as being the same thing. Your ideas, you don't have ideas, they have you. Yeah. And part of your psychology wanted to go towards comedy, and it wasn't happening, so maybe those jokers were coming to you, you know, as a
but I think they're just coming to
you look like you want out of this conversation.
No, but even like when you said about jinns as well, like I had my grandmother tell me about all these horror stories, and my father but is a big thing, sort of. I know if it's all Middle Eastern, but it's actually where he grew up. It's like in a phrase called bad eyes. So, and I can remember this happening. He was in one of the few times he was here. He was in a shop, and the shopkeeper goes, "Geez, that's a lovely watch you have. I'm real jealous." My father just took it off his wrist and goes, "You have it." And the shopkeeper never took the watch, but my father never wore the watch again. He believes that if somebody wants something of yours, it's almost like bad luck to have it. Yeah. So we've always been, and that's instilled within like me, between myself and anybody, like my two brothers, two sisters, and if you've done something good or if you've done something you're almost like proud of, we're almost reluctant to even like tell anybody. You want people,
and that's an Irish thing too
as well. So it is, but so you have both cultures.
I understand the thing, because in Pakistani culture it's the evil eye.
Yeah, so it must be like a.
You go bragging about my kid's amazing. Well, someone will be like, and then they'll put the evil eye on them.
Yes.
I said to my father-in-law one, "Hey, that is a nice shirt," because he was wearing a cool shirt. And he disappeared, and he came back wearing something else, and he threw the shirt at me, and he said, "There you go, it's yours."
Wow.
And I didn't know. I took it. Oh, yeah, sweet. I wore it every day. I wore it to bed and all, but because I didn't really understand. But that dynamic is definitely a thing. And
so it is almost hard. When say, for example, I've done something really cool, like a good stand-up gig, I almost be like, it'd be a bit
tall poppy syndrome, where you,
In Irish culture, it's not acceptable to be proud of your achievements.
Yeah, which is so wrong.
Yes.
You should be proud, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Has becoming famous and popular, has that affected your sort of
I wouldn't
life?
say I'm famous at all.
But, you don't want that evil eye.
No, but here, don't get me wrong. I've had some instances where like somebody's recognised me in the street or something, and it's a pretty cool thing. Because especially like if I'm going to like the SSE to watch like Colin or Shane, there might have been people who've seen me do gigs in like Larry's and they come up and ask for like a photograph, and in my head I'm going, who are you showing that to? Look at this guy. This guy's like, I've never heard of this guy. Do you know what I mean?
Work with him?
Yeah. So but no, it hasn't really changed at all. I don't know if I'd ever would love to be like really famous. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. I would love to have the money if somebody really famous, but I wouldn't be. I don't think I would find it difficult to like adjust to life because I'm quite a quiet sort of person. I don't really like to, you know, I don't like to be out there. But because I've seen it before. Like I went to an event, a fight night with a comedian, and it took us an hour to walk, which should have been a 20-minute walk because every 10 steps, photograph, oh my god, it's you. And I don't know if I could deal with that. Like,
That would drive you nuts.
like even we were in Portugal last year and we seen James Corden, right?
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend loves James Corden, right? Loves him, and she's like, I can ask him for a photograph, and I goes, don't, because he's with his kids, and I was like, to his kids, is probably just his dad. Like they probably don't understand that he's just like celebrity.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd ever want that, because the only time it ever happened really was I was in Next shopping, like there must have been a sale or something on, we were buying loads of clothes for 2 kids, so I had my arms full of clothes, right, and this fella goes, can I have a photograph? So there's a photograph of me standing next with loads of baby clothes in my arms. I'm like, who are you showing that to? Showing that to?
Doesn't have kids.
No, exactly. But no, but look, don't get me wrong, it is nice when somebody does come up to you and say, a fan, whatever,
Yeah.
but
So we can't let you go without talking about Utter Scutter, and I want you to say this. In fact, you can spend the next 10 minutes just saying Utter Scutter.
Utter Scutter.
I love the way you do it, but it's a wee sketch show you do with Sean Haggerty.
No, it's a wee sketch thing I do with a friend of mine, a real good friend of mine, Stephen Campbell.
Stephen Campbell, excuse me.
Soupy. So how Utter Scutter came about was because I be talking to comedians who are like from Belfast and stuff. I'd be saying things and they haven't a clue what I mean, right? So, for example, like this is some Hanlon or whatever, whatever like that.
Again.
And how we would like, so it came about because Soupy's sort of from Newry, but he's a bit of culty in him. So it came about that we were going to do this thing, and then that's how it just came around, and it's done quite well.
Is it improvised or
yeah,
is it? Yeah, it's totally improvised.
We totally improvised. We sort of have a premise of like a idea. Now the clips last a minute long. It might take us an hour and a half to record that because we're probably just laughing at each other or whatever. But like I'm sure you have all heard, like there's the noise that every culture makes, and it's no matter what it is. There's just like it could be something as crazy as like an earthquake's happened, or stubbed your toe.
So you're the two boys. Is it like two farmers or just two cultures?
Just two cultures. Just we don't
at the bar.
On the characters are just sort of grew into this sort of thing, and like we've this like fictional character called Daisy, right? And people have come up with us and say, what about this Daisy? Who is Daisy? And I'm like, Daisy's not real. It doesn't exist. Yeah. And so that's how it started. He's actually in America now, but he should be back in November, so we'll resume.
Where can we watch Utter Scutter?
It's on Instagram. It used to be, so it used to be on his TikTok, and then he lost his page, but he's on his Instagram, so look up Stephen Campbell.
Will it be developed into a skit or something like that? You know,
we would love it.
Bit or skitter or something like that.
We missed the deadline for like usually you can submit something to like the BBC. So I think when he comes back, we're gonna try and submit something to the BBC because probably my favourite one is whenever Chick-fil-A opened up, because we sort of the premise is that old boys they don't have a clue what's going on. So he thought that this was some chicken fella, so he didn't understand what Chick-fil-A was, so he thought they were going to buy some chickens, but it was just a fast food restaurant. They're so stupid.
It's so Irish. It's so Tyrone. It's so Irish.
The way we want to sort of have it is that it's just two boys in the bar chatting nonsense. You know what I mean? That's what it is. Because if you go into any bar, their conversations are happening. And it's how the like turns of phrase that they have, like, you know,
they're gold mines, linguistic gold mines, comedy gold mines. Yeah.
You know,
where can people find more of you?
Follow me on Instagram, Jomar 1989, or just type in Talal Jomar. There's not too many Talal Jomars on Instagram, which is a good thing.
Talal Jomar Tyrone.
Just type in Talal Jomar Tyrone. I have a big gig now in the City Hotel in Armagh at Christmas time. There's one in Armagh, one in Omagh. Great lineups. So Mickey Bartlett's going to be on, Jonah Doherty, and Aaron Butler as well. So,
I'd encourage anyone to come along and see you and stand up, because
they're the two big ones coming
fantastic.
It's been brilliant to listen to.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be on.
As usual, we could have gone another hour listening to your stories and stuff. But look, thank you so much.
No problem. You didn't say the height of it at the top of the podcast in your intro. So can you say it now, please?
I think that's about the height of it.
The head of it, which is an utter Scutter phrase.
And with that,
thanks
again, Talal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.